Hi guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. So in this video, I'm going to be teaching you guys how to make this simple straight skirt with gathers at the hem. If it's what you like to learn, kindly watch till the end. So the first thing you're going to do is to fold your fabric into two. Now to get the width you're going to use, you're going to divide your hip measurement by 4. I'm going to add about 2 to 3 inches. After which you're going to place your tape at the tip of your fabric, and you're going to get your desired length. So I'm using the length of this skirt as my skirt length, and that is also where my gathers will start from. So you're going to place your tape at your waist and get your desired length wherever you want the gathers to start from. So I marked my full length. So this place I'm marking my full length now is where my gathers is going to start from. So after marking the length of my skirt, I'm going to minus 2 inches for my skirt band, and I'm going to place my tape from that 2 inches. I will mark my hip line. Hip line I'm using is 9 inches. So I'm going to mark my hip line. After marking my hip line, I'm going to place my tape at the close side of this center piece, of this front piece of my skirt, and I'm going to impute my waist measurement divided by 4 plus 2 inches of allowance, and I'm going to add 1 inch for that. That is 3 inches total. So I'm adding 2 inches for sewing allowance and 1 inch for that at the waistline. Now for the hip line, I'm going to divided my hip measurement by 4 and I added extra 2 inches. For this down part, I'm going to minus half inch. I'm going to minus half inch from the hip measurement I got, and I'm going to also add extra 2 inches for sewing allowance. After marking my measurements divided by 4, and I'm going to use my hip cup to meet from my waist to my hip, then from my hip to the down part to the full length. After doing that, I'm going to use my scissors to cut this out. After cutting out my measurements, I'm going to place my tape on the center front of my skirt, and I'm going to impute my dart measurement. I use my nipple to nipple measurement, which is 8 inches divided by 2. I marked 4 inches here, and I came down by 5 inches. And I'm going to also mark 4 inches on that 5 inches I came down by. Connect with a straight line. Now for the back part, I've done cutting the front part. Now for the back part, I'm going to fold my fabric into two. Now after folding my fabric into two, I'm going to bring the front part and I'm going to place it on this on the back. Now when you are placing this, make sure that it follows the same pattern if your fabric has pattern. I'm going to leave about 1.5 inch for joining of the lining and the zip allowance. So after marking the 1.5 inch for the zipper and for the joining of my lining for the back, I'm going to use my scissors to trace the back part. And I'm also going to mark the back dart of this skirt. I'm going to mark 4 inches, exactly the same place I marked my front dart. I'm going to use my scissors to notch both the front and the back piece together. So I'm going to get my lining and I'm going to cut exactly the same measurement as the skirt. So after cutting out my lining, I'm going to remove my pins now and I'm going to open up the skirt and I'll place my lining on top. So I'll go to my machine now and sew both sides of this skirt. This is the front piece. So I'm going to use half inch to sew both sides of this front piece. Same with the back piece. I'm going to sew both sides. So for the gathers at the hem of this skirt, I've gone ahead to join the remaining pieces of my fabric for it. You can make yours as long as you want depending on how full you want the gathers to be. The height is 5.5 inch long. So I'll go to my machine now and I'm going to use loose stitches to gather the upper part and I'm going to fold the other side. So I've gone ahead to join the fabric and the lining together. I used half inch to sew both sides of this skirt, fold the front and the back, leaving the upper and the lower part open. So I'm going to turn to the right side and I'm going to iron this. So I was done ironing the front and the back piece. So I'm going to mark my dart. I'm going to mark my dart on the lining. I came down by 5 inches. I came down by 5 inches. Then at the waistline, I went in by half inch on both sides. So I'm going to mark this and I'm going to go to my machine and sew the dart. For the back piece, you're going to mark your zip allowance. So I placed my back pieces together front facing front and I marked 7 inches downwards from my waistline. After marking the 7 inches down, I'm going to use 1 inch to sew the remaining parts. So I'm gonna ahead to gather the upper part of this piece for my gathers at the hem and I also folded the down part of this piece. So I was done sewing my dart and this is what it looks like. Now for the back, I used 1 inch to sew it down and I also left the 7 inches I marked open. I used pin to hold it. Now I'm going to place the front and the back piece together, front facing front. You're going to take your measurements. After placing your front and back piece together and using your pin to pin it, you're going to take your body measurement divided by 2. At your waist, you impute your waist measurement divided by 2. At your hip line, you're going to impute your hip circumference divided by 2. Then at the hem line, you're going to minus half inch from the measurement you got at your hip line. When you are done imputing all the measurements, you're going to connect it. You're going to connect it from your waist down to your hem line. So I was also sewing both sides. So the next thing I'm going to do is to measure the round waist. I'm going to measure the round waist of this skirt from one zip side to the other zip side. Now for the waistband, I don't want this video to be too long, so I made a detailed tutorial on how to cut a perfect waistband. I'm going to drop the link in the description. So I've gone ahead to fix my waistband, and I've also attached my zip. Now for the hem, I've also attached the gathers I made. So this is the final look of this skirt, and that is all for the cutting and sewing of this skirt. If you find this video helpful, don't forget to like and hit the subscribe button for more videos. Thanks for watching. Bye.